Hey everyone, and welcome back to CNBC Tonight. I'm Mei Lee alongside Taimur Nabili. Well, over the past year, China has overtaken the U.S. as the leading consumer of industrial raw materials and overtaken Japan as the #2 oil consumer. Okay, so Mother's Day was yesterday. I don't know if you called your mom.
I didn't.
Oh, okay. All right, I called my mother. But apparently in China now it's becoming a new trend,
really?
Mother's Day. They've taken on the sort of the Western tradition. And so, but they say it's more women than men who choose to buy presents for their moms. Another potential flashpoint between China and Taiwan. What do you advise? What do you think is the best course of action here?
I think there have to be three principles.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Mei Lee Show. Malabo is a town in total ruin. They say at least 1 in every 4 people was killed by the tsunami, but many believe the number is much higher. Nearly everything was either destroyed or swept away, and what's left standing is precariously unstable. But within this virtual wasteland, a global effort is underway to help revive this broken community. Leading that effort from the start has been the Singaporean Armed Forces, or SAF, who established near impossible access into Malabo by sea and by air. This helicopter landing pad, just cleared days ago by the SAF, is a crucial lifeline to ferry in supplies to the center of town. The focus now is to coordinate the relief effort to make it count.
I think more importantly is to also for us to communicate to the outside world, especially now the links with UN and NGOs, what exactly is required here, why, in what quantities, and then hopefully to drive that effort.
CNBC, May. The increased communication and cooperation is beginning to pay off. Aid groups agree there is now more of a joint effort to streamline the massive job at hand.
The military have been excellent to us, provided us somewhere to stay. Both the Indonesian, the TNI and the Singaporean forces have been fine, providing us with logistics support. And it's our job now, and the responsible NGOs, to work with people to help them rebuild their lives and their livelihoods. And we will be doing that.
One of the most pressing priorities after the tsunami was providing immediate medical treatment for the injured, but finding caregivers at first was next to impossible. This is the Malabo Hospital, and as you can see, it's still standing and it's still functioning, but the tragedy about this place is that there used to be 150 medics that apparently worked here, but there are only 6 left because the rest were killed in the tsunami. That desperate need inspired an impromptu international coalition of medical experts to band together and get the hospital up and running. The Red Cross from South Korea and Japan, Médecins Sans Frontières, Singaporean, Indian, and Indonesian doctors, all with the same purpose, to treat the injured and save lives. The work is grueling, draining, and at times overwhelming, but the hardship comes nowhere near the loss felt by victims of the disaster. Here at one of the largest shelters in Malabo, more than 1,000 survivors are dealing with not only the horrors of what they witnessed, but now must face so much uncertainty.
The problem for us here, especially for food and for how to say that, for everything, for water, for food, water, we got a problem here.
And though the difficulties are enormous, signs of resiliency on the streets. Markets are beginning to teem with vendors and their customers again, a slice of ordinary life after having lived through such extraordinary catastrophe. Mei Lee, CNBC Asia, Malabo, Indonesia. Welcome back. Well, we have met some extraordinary female activists so far on today's show. Now I want you to meet a man who's also doing some great work, this time in the name of literacy. John Wood was a hugely successful Microsoft executive when a trip to Nepal changed his life. Saying that John Wood is a man on a mission would be putting it a bit mildly.
There are 800 million people in the developing world who lack basic literacy.
He is the man responsible for single-handedly starting Room to Read, a non-profit organization that gets books into the hands of children in Asia, children who would otherwise never see a printed page.
This year, we are opening, on average, one school every 2.5 days. across the developing world.
Tonight, he is in fundraising mode, and it doesn't take long before donations start pouring in. John has a pretty good story behind Room to Read. In fact, he wrote a book about it, Leaving Microsoft to Change the World. People don't understand what that means when you have to take that leap. I mean, for you, you kind of went through some anguish to try and decide to leave the comforts of Microsoft to do this kind of strange idea.
When you go to a dinner party, the first thing people ask you is, what do you do? And I was going from saying, I'm number 2 at Microsoft China, at which point people kind of nod and they exchange business cards because they want to be in touch with you. And all of a sudden I was saying, well, I'm delivering books on the back of a yak in rural Himalayan villages. And people kind of leave you standing alone as they go to the hors d'oeuvre table because they think this guy's a little bit crazy.
Yeah. But John didn't really care what other people thought. His only focus was to fulfill a promise he made while trekking in Nepal back in 1998. A promise to bring back books to empty school libraries.
To me, it was incomprehensible that we could live in a world that has so much material abundance and yet have something so simple be lacking. How can we have a world where kids don't grow up with books or with a library? And so I just thought to myself, it's a very sad indictment on our society if we don't work to change that for the nearly 1 billion people who lack basic literacy.
With John leading the charge, in just 8 years, Room to Read has so far delivered 2.8 million books. And with local communities providing land and labor, it has established 3,600 libraries and opened almost 300 schools throughout Asia. And there's more. John's a firm believer in the power of educating girls in the developing world, who are often denied any schooling. The Room to Grow program provides full scholarships just to girls.
I had a grandmother who was educated and she read to me, a mother and an older sister who read to me. So I'm a product of 3 strong women. I think about the fact that there's 500 million women in the developing world who lack basic literacy, and I think we have got to get out and reach those women, because who wants to have a world where kids grow up with a mother who's illiterate? It just causes problems for generations to come if those women do not get educated.
I mean, it is a domino effect by just making that single change of sending a girl to school and getting the proper education. It could trigger so many positive things.
I'm not overly religious, but you know, if God came down and said to you, you can redo one thing from the last 100 years, what would it be? I said, if I could go back to 1907 and redo one thing from the last 100 years, I would say let's put every woman in school immediately.
Because of the Room to Grow program, to date, more than 2,300 girls have received scholarships, and all it takes is just $250 to put one girl in school for an entire year.
And our message is very much that you don't have to be as rich as Bill Gates or Warren Buffett to change the world. You don't have to be as good-looking as Brad Pitt or Angelina Jolie to change the world. Because the minute we wait for the billionaires or the celebrities to do things, we're missing the opportunity. We need the tens of millions, the eventually hundreds of millions of people who are part of the upper middle class and the upper class. If everybody just does one thing, then collectively it's gonna change the world.
There would be little hope for these abused animals if it weren't for Lek, the elephant lady of Thailand. It is a magical place where elephants rule and humans serve. I got a taste of life in the park as a volunteer, which includes everything from hauling the 5,000 kilograms of produce daily to feeding the elephants twice a day. Yeah? Oh, you're welcome. But Vivian has always stuck with one constant, and that is her love affair with Chinese culture.
When I was starting, I'm so naive, you know, I would just want to do something that I love about Chineseness and then Chinese culture. I want to embrace the Chinese culture in my work because I don't know that much about Chinese culture.
How did it come about that you ended up in Korea? I mean, clearly you have the Korean background.
Right.
Was that the only association and connection that led you to Korea?
That particular period in time, yes. I mean, I would have ended up there eminently, I think, regardless of whatever happened, because of my mother's background. It was always a goal for me to search for my family in Korea.
It's really tough. It's funny because I'll go into certain interviews where I'll sit down and I'll go, hey, how are you doing? They're like, wow, your English is so good. I mean, it's enough to make you want to scream, really.
Brush it with a little bit of the marinade.
Okay.
This is the fun part.
Which is? Oh, this is the fun part that
Yeah,
guys will love because it involves a blowtorch.
Absolutely.
Yeah, fire.
And we don't have that, we can't stick it under the
fire, ugh, ugh. Yeah, okay.